Welcome to the Bending the Bracket podcast. Here are your hosts, Ben Madison and Lane Smith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bending the Bracket. I'm your host, Ben Madison, alongside Lane Smith. Lane, what's going on?
Oh, trying to get through the week. How are you?
I'm good. I got to say the same. It's been a slow week so far, but overall everything's good. I have no complaints, and we got a lot of sports to get to, don't we?
We got a ton of sports to get to. We got playoffs going on in baseball and basketball, and we got another exciting week of football.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's start at the Monday night game, and that one I struck out on. There's no two ways of putting it. I had Baltimore, and I lost. And I lost big. I mean, the score was 34-20 was the final, a 2-touchdown difference in the final. Really, Kansas City should have won that game by 25, 30 points.
Oh, there's no question. And you take the one special team score away from Baltimore, and that game is an absolute rout by the Chiefs.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Lamar Jackson, it was embarrassing in that game. There's no other way to put it. Less than 100 yards passing, 87 yards, I think, on the ground. That you can't do that. When you're facing Mahomes and this offense, you've got to move the ball downfield. And until Lamar Jackson learns how to do that in these big games, this is what they're going to be.
Yeah, it is. And, I still like Lamar. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a really good regular season quarterback. And that's really, like I said before, he's a made man in the regular season. And that's not going to change because you're going to see Baltimore roll off 8-9 wins in a row. You're still going to see them probably go 12-4 or better. And no one cares about that. No one cares at all because they're going to have to face the Chiefs in the playoffs unless by some miracle someone knocks off the Chiefs. Most likely the Ravens would be the 2 seed. So, they probably would not. And they probably would have to face the Chiefs. And I just don't see them getting past the Chiefs. I thought this could be their chance. And like you said, it was embarrassing. And overall, they regressed as far as their ability to hang with the Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense is what was most surprising to me. Both sides of the ball, really all 3 phases of the ball, were dominated by the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's not, I'm not having an indictment on Lamar Jackson. I still think he's one of the game's best quarterbacks. So it's not that he's just a bad quarterback and his team sucks. This team, like you said, they're going to win 12 games. It's a solid team. They're going to win a lot of games in a row. There's nothing against them. But when you have these games against the Chiefs, big games, national spotlight, and everybody's watching, you got to be able to move that ball. And what he did Monday night is not going to cut it. When you got Patrick Mahomes throwing 385 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, you got to keep up that pace. And the Ravens didn't do that.
It was a masterpiece by Mahomes. There's not really any other way to put it. It was a great game. He played fantastic. He's reaching that next level. Last year he had just learned how to read defenses about halfway through last season. So when I learned that, I said, my God, this kid, there's no telling how good he's going to be. We're starting to see that already after just 3 weeks and no preseason.
Right. And this Chiefs team is better than last year. I've been saying that, and I've been telling you the defense, this Chiefs defense is not the same as it was last year. It's better. Steve Spagnuolo, he's hard to say, has looked good. This team has looked great, and he's got this defense playing very well. And we got Tyrann Mathieu, the leader of that defense, and what they're doing, what they did against Baltimore Monday night, it's impressive. They continue to impress me every week, and I don't know what other team in the NFL is going to hang with them besides maybe Tampa Bay because of Tampa Bay's defense.
Yeah, Tampa Bay has a shot, and really any defense that can get pressure with their front 4 has a shot. And I'm not saying they're going to beat the Chiefs. I think they have a shot to hang with the Chiefs. If you look at the Giants team from 2007 that upset the undefeated Patriots at the time in the Super Bowl, they did that by getting pressure on Brady with their front 4, dropping 7 into coverage and just really confusing him with their whole schematic system on defense. A team that can do that, which maybe would be a Pittsburgh or a Tampa Bay, could present some problems.
I am looking forward to watching Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh and the Chiefs would be great because I think Pittsburgh has the best front seven in the league. So to watch them go up and put pressure on Mahomes, that's going to be a good game to watch when it comes up here in a few weeks.
Yeah, and I think Pittsburgh, I know you're very high on Pittsburgh this year. I'm coming around on them. They're 3-0. Their total opponents record is 0-9, which take from that what you will. It's kind of a weird season so far. But I think that they do have the formula and they have the players to hang with the Chiefs. Obviously, like you said, their defense is arguably the best defense in the league. Great front seven. And look, they have a seasoned and weathered veteran in Ben Roethlisberger who can still drop you those occasional 500-yard performances. So if any team can do it, I think it would be Pittsburgh.
No doubt about it. Now, and I'll talk more about Pittsburgh here later on when we get into matchups. But I think that is a game to watch coming up later in the season. And Roethlisberger, he's going to be ready for that game. He's always ready for the big games. He likes to shine, and I think they'll be ready to go.
Absolutely. Let's move on into baseball now, where the 16-team playoff started yesterday. That is a lot of teams for baseball, and it feels like the NBA playoffs. But it's exciting, but it may water it down a little bit. Your thoughts on that?
16 teams. I can't. I don't want to see this every year. Major League Baseball, I don't know what they're doing. They have been trying to be, I guess, innovative here over the last few years. And to me, it's not working. I don't understand the 16 teams. I get the need for playoff expansion to a certain degree, but this is too much. And when you got teams, when half the league makes the playoffs, to me, it's not fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a little much. And I do believe it waters it down. I think, you look at the NBA, who has regularly had a 16-team playoff for a long time now. And you get these teams that are at or a little bit under 500 and sneaking into the playoffs. And while upsets do happen on occasion, it's very rare that they knock off a 1 or a 2 seed. And so I'm looking forward to the next round of Major League Baseball, where you get to your traditional divisional round and you have 8 teams, 4 in the NL and 4 in the AL.
Right. You should never have teams under 500 making the playoffs in any league. That just shouldn't happen. If you're under 500, you're under 500 for a reason, and you got no business being in the playoffs. And on top of that, it really kind of waters down the whole what the playoffs are. I don't know. It stands out more if you finish the season and you don't make the playoffs when half the league does. You're put on a pedestal as people really notice that, and you're getting a lot more pressure now to make moves and do things that you maybe not would normally do.
Yeah, and the fact that my Texas Rangers still couldn't get into the postseason with 16 teams.
That's pretty bad.
It's not a good story. My other team's Atlanta, and we both grew up Braves fans because we both grew up in the South. So we'll see how they do. They traditionally crumble and fold in the playoffs like a cheap suit. They're currently in game 1 of their 3-game series with the Cincinnati Reds, and it's 0-0 in the bottom of the 13th inning. Atlanta had the bases loaded in the top of the 13th, of course, got nothing across the plate. So I don't know about you, but I fully expect them to crumble as normal.
Oh, yeah, this is the Atlanta Braves in the playoffs. This is what they do. I look for them to, if they win this game, they'll drop the next 2. So, this is the Braves and who they are, but I still root for them nonetheless. I come back for more punishment every year, and we'll see what happens. But I don't remember the last time I saw a scoreless game in the 13th inning.
Yeah, it's really crazy, and I don't know what you say about it. I mean, what are they going to do? Play to 20 innings? They may play to 20 innings, but
the way it looks.
Sometimes I think those games go on a little too long in the playoffs because you got to turn around and play tomorrow. But hey, these guys are peak shape athletes. They can handle it.
And they get paid more than anybody else. So those guys should be ready to go.
They almost make what you do, Mr. Smith. They almost do.
I wish that was the case.
Absolutely. Well, game 1 of the NBA Finals is tonight, and looking forward to that one. LeBron on a quest for his 4th ring, his 10th Finals appearance. I know we differ greatly on our opinion of LeBron James. I think he's the greatest to ever do it. I know that you do not. You don't particularly love him, but I think you do respect his talent and what he's accomplished.
Certainly respect his talent. I take nothing away from him. He is fun to watch. He's entertaining, but he's not and never will be Michael Jordan. That's not even close. To me, that's not even a close debate.
I grew up a Michael Jordan fan, and I would say that when LeBron came back from down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors. That's the point in which I said, this guy is the greatest. When you look at his longevity, how long he's played the game, some of the teams that he's taken to the finals, he gets knocked for a 3-6 finals record. And you can say 6 rings. Michael Jordan had 6 rings. But when you look at what Jordan had, he had the stability of the greatest coach of all time, arguably the greatest number 2 of all time in Scottie Pippen, a front office that always got him players. You know, Jerry Krause was, for all intents and purposes, a jerk and a jackass, but he always had players in that building. You can argue that Jordan had a better will to win and intensity, and I think that's the biggest argument for the Jordan debate. I know when you and I have had this debate, that's your go-to essentially, is that Jordan was just more of a dog.
Jordan, he was much more of a dog. And here's the other thing is Jordan had Scottie Pippen, and that's all he had. He made Tony Kukoc, he made Steve Kerr, he made Luke Longley, Bill Whittington. The list goes on. He had Rodman for a while, but even before Rodman and they were winning, that's the kind of team he had. And so LeBron, he goes to Cleveland, he goes to Miami, he goes to LA. And everywhere he goes, it's always the same freaking story every time. As well, he's got the players around him, or he doesn't have enough. We got to go get more. If you're that good, you make the players around you. You do with what you got, and you go out and win games. And I don't see it.
My counter to that is, if you look at the season that he left, the first season, the full season he missed when he went to play baseball in '94, that team still won over 50 games, made the playoffs. And, they took a step back, obviously, but they didn't take the kind of step back that LeBron's teams do after he leaves. I mean, you're talking about both times he left Cleveland. They go from, finals appearances and championship to winning less than 20 games a year. So I don't buy that whole argument. I think that LeBron elevates talent around him probably at least as much or more than Jordan does. I think when the final book is written, if we're comparing stats, if we're comparing wins, scoring, defensive titles, championship appearances, I think that you can make a good argument for LeBron. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that the majority of people are ever going to admit that LeBron James is the greatest to ever play. There's an affinity for Jordan that is just never going to be surpassed. It's a combination of his branding, of his shoes. Many people think Jordan's the GOAT. They never even were alive to watch him play. And so I don't live under, a false hope that everyone's going to one day say, oh my God, and they're going to put LeBron James in this category, because it's a different era of basketball. But the thing about LeBron James is he plays all 5 positions to a T. He's in his 17th season, and now he's transitioned into a point guard, and one of the best point guards we've ever seen. He can play all 5 positions. He can elevate a team. He's just, to me, he's the best all-around player I've ever seen.
To me, Jordan could do the same thing, though. I saw Jordan do multiple different positions. He took over as point guard numerous times in his career. So, LeBron, look, hats off to LeBron. In today's NBA, to play as many minutes as he is at his age in the 17th year is really something. So I really don't want to take it away from him. But if we're having the GOAT debate, when I'm looking at the Jordan and I look at LeBron, and you're talking about the one season Jordan took off for baseball, that team was still intact from what Jordan did. I mean, that was the same team essentially. And Scottie Pippen was a nice 1A to Jordan.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, I don't think that Michael Jordan could have taken Matthew Dellavedova and some of these Cleveland teams to the finals the way that LeBron has. And look, we can just agree to disagree on that. But I think that if you had given LeBron a coach even half as good as Phil Jackson, the same coach for the meat of his career, sure, he had different coaches early on, but once he got the structure is when he started winning. He couldn't get past the bad boy Pistons until he got a coach in Phil Jackson.
Well, that's true. But now, before Phil Jackson, the team with Doug Collins was still a very good team. And I don't know, we didn't have enough time to really see how that team would have developed, because they went on to Phil Jackson pretty quick. That was a surprising move when it happened, and Doug Collins had not done anything to deserve to lose his job. That was still a really good team.
Yeah, they were a good team, but they didn't get over the hump. They didn't get to the finals. They didn't win the championship. And I think when you look at what Phil Jackson has done in Chicago as well as Los Angeles, it's not even arguable that he's the greatest coach in the NBA.
Not at all. Yeah, I would never ever argue that.
NBA, rather.
Yeah, I would never argue that. But I would just look at the other side in Chicago and say, Collins. I don't know what this team would have done with Collins because he never got a real chance to develop this team as it was because they moved on from him kind of quick to Phil Jackson.
Right. And look, I didn't mean to have a 10-minute debate on the GOAT. I wanted to get into the game one of the NBA Finals tonight, where the Lakers are heavily favored. They're heavily favored. Most people are saying 4 or 5 games max. I did hear one person say Miami in 7. I think it's going to be Lakers in 5, maybe 6. I really like this Heat team, and the thing I like about them the most is they don't have 1 or 2 superstars. They really are a team. And I just don't think that's going to be enough to get it done against LeBron and AD.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think Miami, you've got Jimmy Butler, and that might be about it on offense as far as playmakers. I think when you look at Anthony Davis, LeBron James, that list goes on. That team is very good. They're loaded, and the way they're playing right now and the way they've played especially in the last few weeks, it's their games really haven't been close for the most part. So I think you're right. Yeah, Lakers in 5 seems right to me. Although they have surprised some people. Eric Spoelstra is a really good coach. I've been pleasantly surprised by him. And I wonder, the dynamic of LeBron playing Miami, where he came from, and that's to him that's got to mean a little more. So I'm interested to see it. I'm interested to see how they do.
Yeah, it adds a level. It adds a dynamic for sure. And the one thing I'll say about the Miami Heat is they have some dogs on that team, and they fight, and they really have the camaraderie. The Lakers, as you said, pretty much waltzed their way to the finals, gentlemen sweeping the Trailblazers, the Nuggets, and the Rockets, or the Rockets, then the Nuggets. So only losing 3 playoff games in the first 3 series. But so did Miami. Miami swept through Indiana. Miami knocked off Milwaukee in 5. Many people had Milwaukee as the heavy favorite to win the East.
That was the surprising of the whole playoffs.
And they took care, right? And they took care of Boston, who was another great team. So, the most interesting comparison that I've heard about Lamar Jackson, Nick Wright said that Lamar Jackson's essentially the Giannis of the NFL. He's a great regular season player. He's, all the way around, he's fantastic to watch, but he shrinks in the biggest moments. And I thought that was a pretty accurate comparison.
Yeah, to an extent. I don't know if it's a very fair comparison because Giannis is in Milwaukee and he needs more help. I mean, that's one guy that he's got to have at least one other star on that team to take some of the load off of him. So I don't want to put that label on him yet, but another year or so, and if they don't get it done, I think he's deserving of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think he said he doesn't want to leave Milwaukee. I think if you're a player, you got to leave. If you're a player of his caliber, get the hell out of town. I mean, initially, a lot of people, including myself, were a little questionable on these super team, quote unquote, and now we're more on duos. We're more on teams that have 2 great players and then a handful of supporting players like the Lakers, like the Clippers were. But overall, Giannis has got to get out of town. There's so many places he can go and win championships. And if Milwaukee can't spend the money to get him some big name help, then he's got to go.
I don't understand these owners in these small markets. They have money, obviously, because look what they do.
Right.
So how can you not go out and spend money to put players around your star? I don't get it. I never have understood that, and I still don't. This guy is your unquestionable franchise, and you don't do anything to give him any help.
Yeah, it's quite perplexing. I agree with you on that.
The Braves just won game 1 in the bottom of the 13th, 1-0.
All right.
So we'll go Braves.
Go Braves. World Series, here we come. I got the champagne on ice.
That's it.
We only need about 40 more playoff wins in this long playoffs.
Be good to go.
So let's see. Anyway, should be a good finals. it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Miami hang. It would surprise me to see Miami win the series.
Right. And just going back to what I was saying, these owners, these small market teams, I think that if you have a star, you've got to give him what he needs to be successful. Otherwise, you're wasting his talent. You're wasting your time, and there's no sense in even trying to go forward with him. If you're going to do that, just trade him because you obviously don't care enough to win anyway. So let's go a little bit from NBA. Let's transition over to college football, where my LSU Tigers got Vanderbilt this weekend. I never thought I'd say this at the beginning of the year, but that might be a good game. Coming off what I did not expect Saturday and giving up 600 yards of total defense. It's a
rough day in Baton Rouge when you're starting to sweat a little bit about Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it's a rough week in Baton Rouge. And I tell you what, Vanderbilt put up 12 points and almost beat the Aggies on Saturday. It was the final score there was 17-12. A lot of people had the Aggies as a playoff team this year, so I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's nothing, but
so we're celebrating 12 points.
I'm just saying
we're celebrating 12 points as an offensive explosion, right?
Just saying that is enough. If you're an LSU fan, you just get a little nervous because you saw what Mississippi State did to you on Saturday when you got gashed.
So we're saying Commodores 12, LSU 9. Is that the?
We've had that in my Alabama a few years ago. So I don't know. It's just
the slight difference in that game, which was 9-6 in 2011.
Yeah.
It was 9-6, and it was played in Alabama, and it was arguably the most star-studded college football game of all time. I want to say there was about 38 future pros playing on the field that night. Wasn't that the number, 37-38 between the two rosters?
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It was insane.
It's absurd,
you
as
go
it
back
always
and look
is.
at that list. And, it was, if you like offense, it was a terrible game. But I tell you what, it was one of the most interesting games I've ever seen.
Oh, there's no doubt. It was very interesting. And seeing that and just seeing now you're going to go on the road, you're going to Vanderbilt. I just want to see I want to see progress every week. That's what I was saying to somebody the other day. I want to see this team improve every week. I don't want to see 600 yards of offense every week on this defense. I want to see us get better every week. If that means we only go 5-5, I'm fine with that. As long as we see progress every week going into next year, that's what I'm looking for.
Right, and so, that's all you can ask for.
And this is Orgeron right now. This is what he gets paid to do. He has to coach this team, and he has to lead this team. And last year, he didn't have to do a lot of that. This team kind of coached itself, more or less. The coaching staff had been there for a while. They knew what they were doing, and the players were freak athletes. So this is his time to keep it together, hold down the fort, and progress them every week to get better. So I'm looking at Orgeron just as much as I'm looking at this team as a whole.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you can't take away from what the team accomplished last year with Orgeron at the helm. When he got the job, I was definitely happy for him, but I still somehow have this feeling that not that he's in over his skis, but that it's a little bit of a stretch for him, this job. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. And I know I probably sound silly considering he just won the national championship, but I believe the next couple of seasons we're really going to see if that was more of a fluke or if that's the kind of program he can build consistently.
Well, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for consistency for sure. But I think a lot of that narrative is kind of going out the window after last year because nobody gave this team a chance last year. At the beginning of the season, everybody had the same questions about quarterback position and defense, and all they did was go out there and win every game they played, and it wasn't even close. So I think a lot of that credit goes to Orgeron. A lot of the credit goes to coaching staff for sure. But Orgeron, he had the foresight to go get Burrow. He had the foresight to go get Joe Brady. So he had a foresight to go get a lot of these great coaches, and he had to go back and do it again a year later. So we're going to see how this team does. But I don't look for anything special this year, just looking for progress, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I'm not taking away from him. I don't want to, and I also don't want to see him fail. I want to see him succeed. And for your sanity, I need to see the team win.
Yeah, for everybody's sanity, my wife included.
I don't have to hear too much. And and see the social media explosions and all that stuff. So
right, nobody wants to see that.
Nobody wants to see that. So here's to hoping to God they beat Vanderbilt.
and elsewhere, you've got Florida, who's number 3 in the nation. They're playing South Carolina this week. Florida looked really good last week. Their quarterback threw 6 touchdown passes. He was a 3rd-string quarterback last year, and this year he's a full-time starter, and he threw 6 touchdown passes in his first game. It's unbelievable.
Very impressive, and a lot of these programs that do build a nice recruiting pipeline, which Florida, look, they had a few down years, but I think they're really coming back up and into the fold. Obviously, they're ranked 3rd, and I think they're going to be able to compete and maybe compete to get into the playoff. We'll see how the season goes, but maybe a year away from that, I'm not too sure. But a promising future for the Gators.
I think the Gators, this would be their best year, I think, is this year. I think they lose a lot of players after this year, and they could be the LSU of this year. I could easily see them run the table and get the national championship. This team is that good, especially on offense, and their defense is no joke either. So be interesting to see where they finish up. Another exciting matchup we have Saturday is Georgia and Auburn. Number 4, Georgia. Number 7, Auburn. That game is in Georgia. Georgia, I don't know what to make of Georgia this year. They lost a lot of players last year and lost their quarterback. And then the quarterback they thought they had for this year, at the last minute, he opted out and decided he's going to go to the NFL draft. So Georgia's hurting right now, and Auburn, to me, they have a good team every year, but they're always overrated because Gus Malzahn can't get them over the hump. So it's going to be very interesting to see those two teams battle it out on Saturday.
That's going to be a good game for sure. And, Malzahn, I think he's a solid coach. I think I don't know how to really get a read on him. I think he kind of is what he is at this point, as you said. And that may be enough for Auburn. They're the little brother in their state. So if they can knock off Alabama every 3rd or 4th year, he keeps his job. That's the long and short of it. Yeah,
exactly. I don't know. Auburn's kind of flirted with the idea of getting rid of him in the last couple of years. I just don't know who they're going to go get. That school is always going to be the little brother to Alabama, and they're always going to be kind of overshadowed. So I don't know who you would go get that can do any better. So I don't know if I'd move on from Malzahn or not. But if this team doesn't live up to expectations, that fan base is not going to be quiet, and you're going to have to do something.
Right.
And the other game I'm looking at is Oklahoma coming off a stunning loss to Kansas State last week. They got Iowa State this week, which is also unranked. But just to see how they battle back from that and how they rebound, to see if they can rebound, and what they do on Saturday against Iowa State.
Yeah, I think they rebound. I think they're going to come back a little bit stronger. The disappointing loss last week was really inexcusable to me. And I think they're going to get right this week.
It is inexcusable, but is it in a sense because Oklahoma does this every year? Every year they have that one game, maybe 2 games, that are total letdowns. They should go in, they should blow this team away. And Kansas State, the same team last year, they should have gone in there and blown them away, and Kansas State beat them. And then the same thing this year, Kansas State beats them. So they always have that letdown every year. And I don't think that's a knock on Lincoln Riley necessarily, but it's something worth noting that they can't seem to put it together for a full season.
Yeah, absolutely. And at least they're consistent, right?
They definitely, they're consistent.
They're
for sure.
Consistently a single unit letdown every year.
I'm telling you, if you want to be considered a playoff team, you got to go and you got to win these games like Kansas State, and you got to beat Texas every year. And then when you make it to the playoffs, you got to put on a better showing than you against LSU last year. So I'm looking at Oklahoma just to see what they do this year. They're always interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, there are 3, maybe 4, a handful anyway, of just media darling teams: Ohio State, Oklahoma, USC, Notre Dame, maybe Michigan, that just seem to get all the attention and all the love every year. And I think a lot of them, they go in way overranked.
Oh, yeah, man, no doubt. And Penn State would be one of those teams, too. The media loves Penn State. And they're fun to watch. I mean, James Franklin's got a good thing going up there, but don't know how much longer James Franklin's going to have that job. I think he's looking to go to bigger and better things.
Yeah, I like James Franklin as a coach. I think he's done a good job at Penn State.
There's no doubt to do what he's done with that team and the aftermath of everything that happened. He's done very well at recruiting and getting that school reputable again, and making sports matter again and making football matter. He's done a heck of a job there, and look forward to seeing what they do this year whenever the Big Ten gets going again.
So, in your opinion, you would put him over Bill O'Brien as the better Penn State head coach?
So I don't know if I have enough time in this segment to cover Bill O'Brien again, or what I have not already said about Bill O'Brien.
He's in line for Coach of the Year. I mean, I don't know how else. It's one of those things, man. He's a fantastic coach.
Absolutely,
he's your favorite coach. Sam Darnold's your favorite quarterback. The quicker that you get to this realization,
that's it.
The better things will be
that's
for you.
It. Yeah, we'll all be better off.
Hey, look, it wouldn't surprise me in his GM brilliance if he were just to trade Deshaun Watson for Sam Darnold straight up, and then you could have two of your favorites on the same team.
God, I would write off that team for the rest of my life.
That's really all I want for Christmas is to see Bill O'Brien coach Sam Darnold, and then I'll buy you season tickets and make you go.
I'd write him off the rest of my life. I'd never watch again.
And then they'd win the Super Bowl. That would be awesome. Oh, man. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, you never know, right? So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. College football getting going, and it's going to get interesting. And I can't wait to see who makes the playoffs with this crazy COVID season of shortened schedules and abbreviated schedules. It's going to be crazy.
And we'll get more into college football when the Big Ten gets started up again, the Pac-12 gets going. It will kind of get more exciting when you get more of these schools in. Right now, we're basically covering the SEC, and then you've got the Big 12, and then the ACC too to a certain extent, but that's about it. And it still doesn't seem right. It still doesn't seem like college football without the Big 10 or the Pac-12. So
yes.
We'll get more into that as time goes on and those teams start. But let's transition over to the NFL. This is week 4. We got some great matchup on tap, and I want you to get us started there.
All right. Well, let's see. I'm going to start with the favorite. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the New England Patriots. I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be the sharpest of coaches against one another yet again. We didn't think going into this season that this game would even be interesting because we didn't know what we were going to see out of New England. So far, they've proven that change the quarterback, hold out on some players, doesn't matter. Keep the train rolling. And so we'll see. I like New England to cover the spread of 7 in this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I mean, I never would count a Bill Belichick coach team out of anything. So even before the season started, you had to have known this game could go either way just because of who the Patriots have as their head coach. But I'm with you. I think I don't like 7 points. I would stay away from that if I was betting the game. But I'd like the Patriots to at least cover the 7. But I think the Chiefs win this game. Coming off Monday night, and the way this Chiefs team looks right now, they're just electric all over the field, and their defense is much better than it was last year. Patrick Mahomes, again, playing out of his mind. He's got 900 yards passing right now. Are you kidding me? In week 4. So this team is set, and they're better than last year. And I think the Patriots are great. I love the Patriots. I love what they're doing. I love Cam Newton, but not this week.
Yeah, this is a tough one for New England, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see them go in there and hang one on them. But I don't anticipate it to happen. I think it's a close game. It's very rare that, in fact, I can't remember the last time the Patriots got blown out by anybody. They tend to always keep it close, and that's just because they have the schematic advantage with the best coach to ever do it. And so I think it's going to be a tight game. I think this game definitely comes down to Cam Newton because I think that the Patriots defense is going to do as much as can be done schematically to handle Patrick Mahomes. I think Pat will still have a good game because he's Pat. It's going to come down to that Kansas City defense who, look, they showed up Monday night. They played a hell of a ball game Monday night. We'll see what happens. If New England can run the football on this defense, that's going to present problems.
Exactly. It will present a lot of problems. And I still think Kansas City, that defense, I think they're going to step up and they're going to come to play. If they came to play against the Baltimore on Monday, I think they can definitely win against New England.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Kansas City wins the ball game outright. The next game I want to cover is oddly a 0-3 at a 0-3. And this is one where you got to think that the loser of this game is pretty much all but out of a serious playoff run. The Minnesota Vikings take their 0-3 schedule to Houston with your boy Bill O'Brien and his Houston Texans also at 0-3. Look, both of these teams are better than the record. I don't know. These are two playoff teams from last year. The Texans, of course, have had a brutal opening schedule, playing arguably the best three teams. Well, not even really arguably anymore. The best three teams in the AFC. What are your thoughts on this one? I mean, do you think that the loser of this one is absolutely out of any kind of playoff possibility?
Yes, they have to be. You can't go 0-4 and still think you're going to make the playoffs. That's not going to happen in today's NFL. I do think the Texans win this week. I think, as you said, their schedule has been brutal to start. They're going to be at home. And Minnesota, there is something missing in Minnesota. I don't know what that is, but they have some dynamic that's not there. And they look better this past week, but I still think that just they're off. I don't know if it's an offense. I don't know if it's a defense, but they're just off, and they don't look good. Kirk Cousins is not himself, and so I don't know how that's going to translate to this week. But I like Houston. Deshaun Watson has looked good despite the tough start to the season, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep my Bill O'Brien hate at bay for now, and I'm going to pick them to win the Sunday. But if they don't, be a long show on Monday.
I think that if they lose this game at home now, and that's a real possibility, because again, it's not like the Vikings are a dumpster fire. I mean, they're a team last year that made the playoffs, that won a playoff game. Both of these teams actually won a playoff game last year. So I think that the coach who is going to be 0-4 after this game, their seat might be getting a little bit warm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Vikings coach seems to have a lot more support, even despite the slow start. Really, the slow start from the last couple of years. He seems to have a lot more support than Bill O'Brien. I think Bill O'Brien is really on the hot seat all season. So it's going to be interesting to see how they finish out and see what they do with the players they have. Thus far has been unimpressive, to say the least.
Yeah, and Bill O'Brien really, it's almost like he kind of has that Jason Garrett resume, but his is better than Garrett when you look at simple wins, losses, and division titles. Better than Garrett's was, rather. Garrett now the assistant with the mighty New York Giants. We'll see how well that's going. But with Houston, I mean, I know Bill Bryan is a bad coach, and I don't think he's a good coach either or a good GM. I think he's a solid coach maybe, but a terrible GM. And when you look at the justification for firing him, I mean, you look at the team last year, 10 or 11 wins, a playoff victory. Yeah, you lost in Kansas City, but I mean, you were up 24-0. That was all, house money. No one expected them to compete in that game, which they ended up losing by double digits. But I think the question becomes, if you get rid of him, who do you get?
Well, you've got an attraction there in Deshaun Watson. So you're not going to have trouble finding a coach to come to Houston. It's not like you're starting over and you have nothing to work with. They've got pieces in place. They got to rebuild that defense a little bit, but the offense is there. They need to get another dynamic receiver to replace Hopkins. But Watson is there, and he's in his prime, and he's very good. So I think you got to find somebody innovative, whether that be Peyton or somebody of that caliber, to come in and get the best out of Watson.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll see.
We'll have a lot more to talk about if they move on to Bill O'Brien. I mean, Bill O'Brien goes to coach the Jets, and then it's still Sam Darnold and Bill O'Brien. So I have some opportunities to get these two together. I just have to make it work and make some calls. Please put Bill O'Brien in New York with Sam Darnold.
Oh, that would be epic.
That'd be my opening rant every show. I'd come on here.
Every show.
Yeah, every show. I would come here and talk crap about Sam Darnold and Bill O'Brien, and then it'd be over.
There you go. So next game I want to cover is the New Orleans Saints going to the Lions. This one, I don't think it has trap game written on it for the Saints because, they're 1-2. So 1-2 teams typically can't have trap games. But as I said before, I think the Saints are better than their record. The Lions coming off of that big win in Arizona, we'll see if they can carry any of that momentum back home with them. But I think the question becomes, if you get rid of him, who do you get? Well, I think Bill O'Brien is going to be 0-3 after this game. I think the Saints are better than their record. The Lions coming off of that big win in Arizona, we'll see if they can carry any of that momentum back home with them. Do you think there's any way the Saints lose this game?
I didn't think there was any way the Saints were going to lose to Las Vegas, and they did. So I will say this. If the Saints lose to the Lions, this is a lot worse than I thought and that many fans thought this team would be. And if you're looking at 1-3 going into week 5, that is not good, and it's time to panic in New Orleans.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the Saints are going to go up there, and I think they're going to win this game convincingly. The Lions are a bad football team, and Arizona played bad last week and still almost beat them. So I like the Saints to roll in this game. I didn't see the line on this one. Did you see the line on this one?
Yeah, the line is Saints -4.
See, that's low to me. I like the Saints in like a 27-13 style game. I think they're going to get right in this game.
I'll say this, Michael Thomas returned to practice today. So if he plays in this game, that's certainly a difference maker, and that would inspire me to believe this team can pull off a big win. But
if Mike Thomas plays, it's 34-13. Absolutely.
Right, but if Thomas doesn't play, you have no idea what team is going to show up, because what we've seen the last couple of weeks has not been good football, and they have trouble holding on to leads. So we would see what happens if that is the case. But yeah, I'm with you. If Michael Thomas plays, this game is out of reach before it starts.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, the Saints are going to be fine. I mean, they lost to the Raiders, who were may very well end up being a playoff team. And they lost to Green Bay, who may be the best team in the NFC. So it's not like they're losing to dogs per se. And I think they're going to take care of the Lions really easily.
Well, the Lions today, I got to throw this in there. The Lions today named Adrian Peterson their starting running back. How many chances does that guy get? He goes out and keeps playing at a high level. And I'm happy to see it for Adrian Peterson. He's one of the best, and he'll never get the ring. I don't think before he retires, but he's one of the best to play, and he's still fun to watch.
That really is amazing that he's playing after all these years. And when he was in his prime, he was very, very fun to watch. Just a dominant back. Maybe he'll run for 160 yards against your Saints, and I'll have to hear about it.
If anybody could, it would be him.
Yep, I'll have to hear about it Monday.
You will.
So, Lions, the mighty Lions pulled a 500.
The mighty Lions, baby. Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia. That hat might go on backwards if they go to 2-2.
Absolutely.
Colin Cowherd will hit the roof. Want to move to Dallas now, where the 1-2 Cowboys are hosting the 2-1 Browns. So, before the season, if I'd have told you week 4 Cowboys are hosting the Browns, one team will have a losing record and one team will have a winning record, you would have probably thought it was the Cowboys with the winning record, right?
Absolutely. This has been a surprising start, to say the least. And as we covered the other day, I mean, Dallas could easily be 0-3 or 3-0. So to see them sitting at 1-2, still have no idea what to make of this team. Dak Prescott's playing out of his mind. He's got 1,188 yards passing already, which is incredible. So good for him. I think they're a little too reliant on Dak Prescott. They got to get that run game going. That is vitally important to their success this season. They got to get Zeke Elliott running and get him involved in the offense more than he is, and see him run the ball and do what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, they're a lot like Baltimore in a sense. And that sense is that their A game is to score first, to get a lead, to pound with Zeke, to play off the play action and get Dak involved. Now, the difference between them and Baltimore, ironically enough, is the Cowboys have the ability to come back more than Baltimore does, as we've seen. But coming back without a win is kind of all for nothing except the stat sheet. There was a lot of that last year for this Cowboys team. So I like the Cowboys to win this game, but it wouldn't surprise me to see the Browns go in there and hang one on them. I think that Cleveland is a very good and underrated team. And I think if they go in there, look, Cleveland can go in there and they could run the ball for 300 yards on this team.
Easy.
I mean, they can run the ball. And while Baker Mayfield may have his limitations, he still has a good arm. And they really can choose what they want to do on this Dallas defense, because they can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. Their secondary has been a disaster. Diggs has been solid overall as a rookie starting with no training camp, but still, Cleveland could easily go in there and rack up 500 yards of offense. So I don't think there's going to be a game unless this Cowboys team drastically improves on defense where you're going to see a 20-17 score. Now, I say they had the first game of the year, that was the score, but since then the defense has regressed. And so I think any team with a solid offense can score at will against this team.
Absolutely. Look, this is a sneaky game for the Cowboys. It could be a trap game. They're kind of caught up in their 2-game win streak right now and the way they've had to come back. And there's been a lot of emotion involved in the last 2 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out this week. But Cleveland is a good team, better than people give them credit for. And if they go into Dallas and win that game, you really got to start wondering what heads are going to roll in Dallas, because that is not going to be good for that fan base or for Jerry Jones.
Yeah, 1-3 would be a very disappointing start, especially with all of the hype and the optimism going into this season with the new head coach.
And not to mention, but Cleveland, people still think of Cleveland as 0-16 Cleveland. So it's kind of like we got beat by Cleveland. So people have trouble admitting that Cleveland is actually a good team.
Right.
All they see is the Cleveland Browns, and it sounds a lot worse than it really is, because Cleveland is a decent football team.
As always, the saving grace for the Cowboys is their division. I mean, they start 1-3. It's not even a big deal. It's really not a big deal. Philadelphia 0-2-1. The Washington football team 1-2, but we know what they are. Their ceiling is 4 or 5 wins at best. The Giants, their ceiling may be 3 wins, and I may be being gracious with that. And then we have the Eagles, and the Eagles are going to go to San Francisco, where Garoppolo is still going to be on the bench. But as we discussed, Mullins is more than capable as a backup. They're going to be back at home. And look, I think the Eagles can't be competitive in this game against essentially, once again, the 49ers JV team. Then I think you have major issues in Philadelphia at that point.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, if you're not, the Cowboys still win this division, even if they lose on Sunday. I'm not debating that as much, but the Cowboys have bigger aspirations than just a division. So we have to start thinking in a bigger picture. If this team was not what it's constructed to be and what it's built up to be, then they're still going to win a division. That's great. We're still alive. But I think the aspirations there are a lot higher than just the division. So you got to start thinking long term. We lost to Cleveland. We're 1-3. Where do you pick up the pieces? What gives you the confidence to think you're going to have or meet your aspirations that you started the season with?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I think that they really need this win for one to get back to 500. And, like you said, they don't want to win a 7-9. They don't want to win their division at 7-9 and be a de facto division champion who's going to, host a New Orleans or host a Seattle or a Arizona even that could go in there and just dominate them in the wild card round. So the expectations are always sky high with the Cowboys, regardless of their coach or their players. But with the current setup, it is, and they need to play more like the 12-4 type team that many people thought they could be.
No question. I totally agree with that. And if you go 500 this week, now you can kind of go into next week, go into practice and quote unquote a brand new season. You're 0-0 as far as,
yes.
So
yes.
that's important. That would help them, and they kind of regroup and go forward. So that would be a good win for them. But like I said, if they lose, this is it's just not good. Not good to be in Dallas right now.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about how there's 16 teams in Major League Baseball, in the Major League Baseball playoffs, and how that waters it down to an extent. I've always believed that you should have to win a certain amount of games to be an actual division winner. You may be a de facto division winner, but I think if a team were to finish under 500 like the Seahawks did several years ago. Now, they beat the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs, and I didn't mean to bring that up, but it happens. They beat them as a 7-9 team, but to me, it waters it down. Look, for example, you've got the 49ers could win 12 or 13 games. Seattle could win 12 or 13 games. Are you really telling me that the runner-up in that division is not better than the 7-9 NFC East champs?
Miles better.
Right.
It's not close.
I mean, if you have these divisions that are just an absolute disaster, where you have nobody finishing over 500, or maybe if if there wasn't a team to finish over 500, then you would implement this. I don't know how you do it. It would technically throw everything off, but I hate to see teams that are better go on the road and have to play in the home of a team that's much worse than them.
Right. I agree with that.
So we'll see if this division improves. Philadelphia, I think, overall has bigger issues than Dallas. Dallas has the pieces. They just kind of need to put it together. Philadelphia has a ton of issues that we've talked about ad nauseum. So we'll see what they do. They could go in there. I think if they were to win that game against the 49ers, it would really turn things around. But we will see.
I want to move on to this game, which the Seattle and Miami, which on paper is going to be an absolute blowout. But two things stand out to me. One, the line is only 6.5. How is that line only 6.5? I have no idea. The game is in Miami, but Seattle, the way they're playing right now, Russell Wilson's on another level. I do think that Seattle is too reliant on Russell Wilson. I started kind of thinking about that this week, and maybe I'm putting too much praise on Seattle as a whole. I think Russell Wilson is the team, and without him, I just don't know how they move forward. So that is something to keep an eye on. But the question I want to pose to you is, let's just say that Seattle gets hot in that first half, and they're winning at halftime. They're ahead, 28-7, 28-10. It could easily happen. If you're Miami, put in Tua?
Yeah, they should have started him in week 1. I've been saying that.
I disagree. I
don't know what you have to lose. And if the argument is that he is injury prone, well, this is the NFL. So he's going to get injured now or he's going to get injured later. If he's injury prone, he's going to be injured. No. So you have to just let him go, see what you have, and let him play. I mean, these young guys are hitting at a rate that we've never seen before. And per your standard on someone like Sam Darnold, if they stink up the joint for 2 years, then they never were that good to begin with.
But my thing, I've always said that. I said this with Darnold too when he came out, is these star quarterbacks that are drafted to be your franchise, I think it's a great idea to let them sit there and sit on the bench and behind the starter. Let them learn. Let them get acquainted with the offense. Let them learn the playbook. And when you get them in, it's not starting fresh. They've kind of gotten some idea of the NFL environment. They've gotten some of that under their belt. And so they've set either for a full season, half a season. They've learned more of the playbook. They've kind of learned how to read defenses. And so it's not as big of a culture shock when they come in. So I'm all for letting them sit, maybe not for a full season, but at least half the season and kind of feeling things out.
I think it totally depends on the player, and it totally depends on their personality, their maturity level, and their ability to adapt. You look at Joe Burrow, he comes right off the bat with no preseason. He's solid as a rock. He's making mistakes, obviously, because he's a rookie with a terrible team around him. But overall, he's done fine. You look at other players that come in immediately and start. And look, I think Tua is very mature. I think he's very talented. So I don't think he'd have any trouble. I think it's the Baker Mayfields of the world that struggle mightily with being thrown in right away.
But I think Baker Mayfield was his own worst enemy. He still is to some degree. So I think, Tua, I think he's going to be one of those players. He's quiet. He's going to keep his mouth shut, and he's going to get there and play football. I'm excited to see what the kid can do, but I'm all for him not playing yet. Now, I think if Miami's getting blown out Sunday, I would put him in. Just kind of get acquainted. You got nothing to lose. Put him in there for, a quarter and just kind of see what you got. Let him get his feet wet and see what he can do and then go forward. But I mean, everybody knows this is going to happen anyway. So why not pull the plug?
That's my whole argument. Why not just start the kid from day one? I mean, what is a month of sitting on the bench done that, starting on day one wouldn't do?
I think there's both ways to look at it. I've always been a big proponent of letting the kids sit behind. Now, normally you sit behind like the starter who's been there for 20 years, who's on his way out. So I don't know how much good it's doing him sitting behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. But with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, sat behind Favre. And so when that transition happened and Aaron Rodgers took off right away. So there's both ways to look at it, but I'm a big proponent of sitting there, learning as you go, kind of seeing how the game is, and then getting in there and seeing what you can do.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it, and it really depends. And I think that a decade and a half ago when Aaron Rodgers did that, that was pretty much the standard. It was mostly unheard of to have a rookie quarterback, with the exception of, a couple like Roethlisberger who played immediately. But even then, they didn't get good until year 2, year 3. Now we see these kids hitting right off the bat. So there is no right answer. It's definitely a matter of opinion, but I would have no problem. My answer to you is yes, you put Tua in. I would put Tua in anyway. You might as well let him get his feet wet against arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, definitely the best quarterback in the NFC. The line, by the way, does surprise me. I think that's probably largely due to the injuries that Seattle has.
Yeah, Seattle's looking at, let's say 1, 2, 3. They got 5 players questionable or doubtful for this game. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Absolutely.
Any other games you wanted to cover this week? There's a few games that, really are kind of bottom barrel for me. We'll see. One that's actually kind of interesting to me is the Bills at the Raiders.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very important game for the Raiders. I think most people know and they believe after the win last week that the Bills had over the Rams. I think people know, hey, that's a real team. So we're going to wait and let them play New England, and then we're going to see how good they are.
That's what everybody's waiting on, exactly.
Right. The Bills beating the Raiders, it's expected at this point, in my opinion. And the Raiders, look, they've had a good season so far. They're 2-1. They upset New Orleans Monday night a week ago. They did fall to the Patriots rather convincingly in Foxborough on Sunday. So this is an important game for them because I think if they drop this game and all of a sudden they're 2-2 and all of a sudden they've lost 2 in a row, then people are going to say, yeah, that's what we thought they were. But if they can beat the Bills, go to 3-1, there's a massive difference between 3-1 and 2-2. And if John Gruden and the Raiders can have a 3-1 start to the season, they're going to definitely lift some eyebrows.
I agree with that completely. I think the Raiders have a chance being at home and being a cross-country trip for Buffalo. But the way Buffalo's playing right now, Josh Allen especially, he's got 10 touchdowns and 1 interception through 4 weeks or 3 weeks. So I don't see how Buffalo loses this game. I like the Raiders. I think they're doing a lot of good things, but Buffalo's come out of nowhere with me, and they're really surprising me already. And I look for that to continue this week.
I saw a stat the other day, and it said that Josh Allen in his last 16 games has, I want to say it was 31 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I mean, that's
unbelievable.
It's Aaron Rodgers type.
Yeah.
Type efficiency.
That's the first thing I think of.
Over. And again, it's such a testament to what the coaching staff has done up in Buffalo. So that should be a good game. We'll see how that one goes. Also looking forward to that Titans Steelers whenever it gets played. It's going to be a really good game against 2 3-0 teams.
That will be a great game, and that they're talking about that game could be Monday or Tuesday next week. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out.
Tuesday, so we get another week of another night of NFL football.
Right, I agree. Put it on Tuesday,
and we only have to skip Wednesday and Friday.
The only drawback is a short week to the next game, so I don't know if they would do Tuesday.
That's true, but they can handle it. They put them on the 3 days, on the regular.
Right.
They play on Sunday and then Thursday night. So it should be a good week of the NFL. And look, I think the NFL is so good that even with a little bit of a downturn in the schedule as far as, great matchups this week, I still think we're going to get a hell of a football Sunday.
Oh yeah, it's NFL, and it's still going to be exciting games. It's not the games we've seen the last couple of weeks, but you're bound to have some down weeks here and there. But as teams start kind of knowing what teams are in week 4. You're going to have a better idea after Sunday how good or bad the Raiders are, or how good or bad Minnesota or Houston are. It's going to tell you a lot after week 4.
Yeah, this is really the point that the teams start the separation process from one another. And look, you've had the teams that may start off, hot through about 6 or 7 games and then fade. So we'll really know who's pretenders and contenders after about 2 months in. But this is an important weekend to start that process.
No doubt about it. I'm looking forward to it, regardless of the matchups. I think some games might surprise you. Thursday night football is nothing to talk about with Denver and the Jets. So I would not even pay attention to that. But
Adam Gase would be fired after that loss. Mark my words.
You think so?
Yes, he won't be the coach on our next show.
That's interesting. That's a hot take. I don't know. I don't know if the Jets would do that. That's a hot take from you.
Yeah, might as well live on the edge, right?
Well, why not? I mean, the other game that's interesting, we don't spend a lot of time on this, though, would be the Colts and the Bears. Colts are playing good here the last couple of weeks. Phillip Rivers seems like he's finding his rhythm there in Indianapolis. And the defense, Indianapolis defense is sneaky good. Not a lot of people are talking about them, but I think they've got the number 1 ranked defense right now or close to it. They've been phenomenal. So that's just something to keep an eye on. We both agree that the 3-0 Bears is kind of a mirage, and I don't expect that to keep up. But if Colts come in here and win this week and go 3-1, you might see the Colts starting to ascend to that next level. So that'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it will be. And I think it's going to be a 2-team race in the AFC South between them and Tennessee. So we'll see how Tennessee does when they indeed get to finally play the Steelers. One more note before the show ends. The Astros have defeated the Twins 3-1. Houston wins that 3-game series 2-0. So that series is already over. And the Minnesota Twins still have not won a playoff game since 2004.
That is wow. I don't know what to say to that. That's a crazy stat, and unbelievable. Really is.
It really is. When you consider they went in as the 3 seed hosting the 6 seed Astros, and the Astros make short work of them in 2 straight games. So
I mean, it's hard to bet against the Astros. They've been there.
Exactly. The drought continues for the Twins. Sorry, Twins fans.
Yeah, are there Twins fans? I don't think I've ever met one.
I hope that we don't have many Minnesota listeners, because they're never going to listen again after you said that.
Well, I do feel bad for Minnesota, because the Vikings and the Twins, it's tough. It's going to be tough. But I'd never met a Twins fan. I've met a lot of other fans, just never a Twins fan.
One more thing I wanted to say, speaking of listeners, we've noticed a large spike in our downloads in Ireland. So we wanted to shout out to Ireland. What is up, Ireland?
No kidding. That's amazing. Keep it up. And we love having the downloads come from Ireland and all over. We're thankful for the response we've gotten.
Everywhere.
And the downloads we're getting from everywhere. It's been unbelievable. And we hope that continues.
I would actually love to have someone from Ireland on the show. So if you wanted to hit us up, you can hit us on Twitter at Bending Sports. You can email us, bendingthebracketsports@gmail.com. Facebook is also at Bending Sports. Hit us up, and we would love to have you on just to talk about really anything you want. Culture, sports, what you're listening for. Are you a fan of American football? I think it would be awesome to have somebody on.
That'd be amazing. I'd love to see that and start getting people on the show from all over. But if we get somebody on from overseas, that'd be phenomenal.
And look, I've always loved the culture of Ireland overall. I want to go there and visit. I look like I could be Irish. I like beer. I don't know what the problem. Maybe they can just tell that I like beer. No, I'm kidding, but only half. So anyway, it's been a good show. You got anything else for us, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, we got to do our deadlocks. You can't let the show go without doing deadlocks.
That's right. I was trying to get away from the I'm kidding. I already did one deadlock, and that's that Gase is going to be fired Thursday night. But then, no, I'll do my 2 games. That's only fair. Do you have your deadlocks ready?
I do.
Go for it.
I'm going to take Cincinnati over Jacksonville. Burrow is going to get his first win, and let's see what Cincinnati looks like in that. And I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to take Cleveland over Dallas. I like Cleveland this week.
Yikes.
I know.
Another big one. I mean, that's not as big as last week, but that's
I'm going to stay away from stretching this week. Yeah,
that's a pretty bold deadlock pick. For me, I think that God, I hesitate to do this because I did the Vikings last week and they screwed me over. You know what? I'm going to go against the Vikings this week. I think the Texans get on the winning streak.
I do too.
Or on the winning path. I mean, a streak is a very strong word at this time in their season.
Right.
They're looking for a win. But they're at home. They play well at home. Your boy Bill O'Brien always has them ready to go. He's an excellent coach. So I think that they win at home. And you didn't even correct me there.
Break.
You didn't
give
even correct
me a break. He's terrible. He's garbage.
My other deadlock pick is rather an easy one. I think the Saints are going to absolutely destroy the Lions. I like the Saints to win this game by at least 10.
That's bold. That's really bold because
I don't think it's bold at all. I'm not a believer. You act like the Saints teams from the 80s are back. Look, this team may be 1-2, but they didn't lose to dumpster teams. They knocked off Tampa Bay convincingly in week 1, who we're starting to see is actually a really good team. So I think the Saints team will be just fine. I still like them as one of the top teams in the NFC.
I think they're a good team, but I think they should have won Sunday, and they couldn't hold on to that lead. And the Raiders game, that was really disappointing all the way around. It kind of took the wind out of my sails. But
yeah, the Raiders game's tough, but those happen. This is the NFL, and when good teams play other good teams, you lose the game sometimes. And look, the Packers to me are the cream of the crop in the NFC. There's no shame in losing to the Packers at all, especially when you don't have a crowd at home. So. Saints are going to be fine. I'm not worried about the Saints at all. I would pencil them in as a playoff team. They may be a wild card team, but they're going to be a playoff team.
We'll come back. We'll see what you think on Monday. It's going to be interesting to watch.
It will be interesting. That's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys on Monday. Don't forget to check us out on Monday. We're going to have, obviously, the recap from the NFL. We'll catch you up on Major League Baseball playoffs, what's going on. And we'll have 2 games of the finals in the books that we can discuss. Have a great day.
And that's going to do it for us for this episode of Bending the Bracket. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to follow our latest content. You can also find us on Facebook or Twitter @Bending Sports. Have a great day.